All right. Who would I have selected at pick 106 if I was the Tennessee Titans general manager? Here is my version of the Tennessee Titans 2024 NFL draft, pick 106. For those who love alternatives, I would have picked offensive Javon Foster out of Missouri. Bottom line, you look at every measurement analytically, he matches up with the first round pick, JC Latham. In fact, he had a higher PFF grade in terms of overall offensive effect, right? Because you got to, my opinion of PFF is it is a great tool for assessing how a player executed uh, any given assignment. And when you use that comparison, by PFF standards, he graded higher than JC Latham. Now, this is where the holistic draft process comes in evaluation. JC Latham was my offensive tackle 3. Javon Foster was my offensive tackle 6. He was the offensive tackle 10 and 12 and 15 for a lot of other evaluators. That's why I believe this is a value pick. And I said this before. I think you're getting a top 50 caliber player at pick 106. And tying into that holistic way to view it is, yes, let's put it on Front Street. Yes, he's in an offense that's air raid centric. Yes, it's RPO centric. So some of the responsibilities and some of his assignments were, more so on a lower time trajectory than JC Latham, right? Because there's quicker plays. Um, his pass sets aren't the best. He's not as powerful, but that's why you go to the NFL. You get that NFL level coaching, you get in an NFL style scheme, and you adapt. And with that holistically, I think you got a top 50 player. I'll say it again. I think you got a top 50 player at pick 106 at the offensive tackle position. There's a lot of players that was picked before him that will play on the interior, um, and they're not as good. Let's just call it how it is. They're not as good at the offensive tackle position. This guy played at left tackle for the majority. Excellent size, excellent traits, long arms, ability to use his hands. Um, he does have to improve on the way that he independently strikes, cuts defenders in halves. He needs to basically rework all of his technique in terms of his pass set. But in terms of the run game, he gets out there, he knows angles, he's physical. The Tennessee Titans with the same selection selected Cedric Gray, linebacker. It was a position of need for them because they did not uh, attack it the way that they liked during free agency. I think they were kind of, spreading themselves thin with other allocations, but they went for Cedric Gray. You can go look at that video for Cedric Gray. I've already done all of the Tennessee Titans selections, but a post-it note example of his evaluation is, I think misses a lot of tackles, needs to get stronger, but by all means, a great blitzer. Can run and hit. He has the ability to grow within this league and become a starter. Green dot ability, as the people in this market love. And all that means is just a guy that can relay the play to the rest of the defense. But like I said, Javon Foster, I think that he has all the traits. He's not going to be a perfect prospect following him outside of the 100. A lot of the stuff that I talked about as negatives were bigger negatives for NFL teams, obviously, with him dropping this late. Body type is kind of an oddie body. I wouldn't say that he's slew-footed. I didn't even mention with Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean is kind of slew-footed with thin lowers. Forgot to mention that in his video. That's who I would take him with pick 38. But I think this is just a value play pick to me. Like even if I'm overstating it with him being a top 50 player, if we split the difference, top 75 player, you're still getting the value. I don't think, every offensive tackle label taken before him isn't better than him. He got actually picked by a situation in Jacksonville that's going to give him some early reps as he tries to find a role in this league. So, yeah, overall, man, this is the type of pick where the physical element meets the tape, marries the analytics, and it just makes sense. Where I don't, and it goes back to the aesthetic thing. Like if Javon Foster blocks a guy for 3 seconds, and nobody touches Will Levis, and JC Latham does the same thing, does it matter? Or is it because it looked cooler when JC Latham did it because maybe he had a pancake or a knockdown or he ripped the player to the ground, as opposed to Javon Foster just blocking a guy for 3 seconds and he didn't touch Will Levis. So this is what I'm talking about. You're playing the game of the how it looks versus the act or the execution. So I think Javon Foster is one of those players that he's going to get the job done. Does he look like the next Tyron Smith? No. Does he look like even his teammate Cam Robinson? No. But I think he can get the job done. So that's who I would have selected. I'm not going to try to make up any other, cases for why I selected him. It is what it is. The bottom line is the bottom line. Pro comp for him was Cameron Fleming, journeyman offensive lineman that wherever he goes, especially in recent years, he's pass blocked well. And if you give him enough reps, where it usually takes offensive linemen more reps to get used to being effective in the run game, that is another element that's impressive. Now, I didn't mention this when describing JC Latham in his video with the Titans. I didn't mention this when describing JC Latham when I was describing Rome Odunze in my series. But taking an offensive tackle at any point, it's a growing pain type of position. Very rarely do you come in and you're absolutely awesome. Usually interior players have an easier transition to the league, like guards and centers, excuse me. So there's going to be growing pains regardless, but growing pains at pick 106 is different than growing pains at pick 7, which I doubt JC Latham. This guy's a physical specimen. Obviously, if you wanted to do this, it's not saying that I'm doing this, but if you wanted to do this comparing the position taken, obviously JC Latham being my offensive tackle 3 basically tells you who I thought was more advanced. But I love the value at 106 for Javon Foster, and that's all that needs to be said. Who am I going to pick at pick 146? Stay tuned.